So first, what are the chances to stop the war in Ukraine? Are there any slight chances to some open door to end this war, to start some kind of negotiations?
Sooner or later, the war will finish.
Of course.
There is no eternal wars, so this war will finish too. But unfortunately, I don't see any signs that it can finish in the nearest future, because Putin doesn't want any peace. That's reality, and he has a number of reasons for this. First, because he has not achieved the goals he wanted. Secondly, because he thinks that he can outweigh the West, and he thinks that in the war of attrition he has more chances. But also because he doesn't want to speak with anybody else except United States of America. And with the United States, the problem is that we don't know who is the president, who will be the president. And so I think some chances will appear when after the American elections.
Okay.
It will be quite soon. And after this, we will understand who is the president of the United States. And after this, probably there is a chance that Putin will be more open for dialogue.
That's my question, actually, about Trump, Mr. Donald Trump. So, he said that if I become a president of the United States, I will end the war in 24 hours, which means, he said, in one day. I know Zelensky well, I know Putin well. It would be very easy. That deal to end the war would be easy. What is your comment about that? Optimist.
Yeah, he's optimist.
Quite optimist.
You see, I don't know. I don't know what exactly is the plan of President Trump. Do I want the war to finish? Yes. But when I hear the word deal, I'm a little bit concerned, because I want to live in the rule-based world, but not in the deal-based world. It's different things. Because rules are protecting everybody, and especially small countries, small people. That's why rules matter. Strong person, strong country can always protect himself, herself. Weak is dependent from the rules, and that's why rules.
You're not weak. Ukraine is not weak.
We are not weak.
You have support from the whole democratic world.
Yeah, but unfortunately we are attacked with a much bigger country,
Yes,
with
25.
nuclear weaponry,
Yes.
much bigger by territory, much bigger in population, and so on. We are not weak. But I am telling you that rules are important not just for Ukraine. Rules are important for all countries in the world. And the smaller countries are, more they are dependent from the rules. And that's why I want to see the rules in the world, not deals which are running
To be applied.
To be applied and to work. So that's what I'm concerned about. But I think that President Trump, it will be President Harris, we will see, they will act in the best interest of the United States. And the best interest of the United States is to stop Russia. And I believe that whoever will become the president, they will realize this. At least I hope.
Yes. Okay. What was this plan? Trump's plan was criticized by the former Vice President Mike Pence. He said that the only way you could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours would be giving, I'm quoting him, be giving Putin what he wants. That is the last thing that United States should ever call upon Ukraine to do. That's clear.
It's clear. I want to thank Vice President Pence for all his strong position and support to Ukraine. But Vice President, I try to be very cautious in my comments, because all American politics now is super overheated because of the elections. And it's too much at stake there. By the way, the worst possible scenario there, because sometimes I'm asked, what is better for Ukraine, Trump or Harris, what is the worst case for Ukraine? The worst case for Ukraine, as for the whole world, is if the United States will go to some kind of a civil conflict, which could happen. For example, if this assassination attempt against Donald Trump would be successful in July, I think it was a very big chance of a clash, social clashes, civilian clashes in the United States. And this is the worst thing. If the United States will go to chaos, that is what Russia is and other malign agents are looking for, waiting for. So that's the worst possible scenario. So I hope this will not happen. I hope we will have a clear result. I hope that the new winner, whoever it will be, will act in the best interest of the United States.
Nevertheless, if Mr. Trump is going to be a president of the United States, what will happen?
I don't
What
know.
will happen with his plan eventually?
You know, one
How
thing,
you will respond?
yeah, one thing I can tell you, I think even Donald Trump doesn't know what exactly he will do.
You think
Because,
so?
yes, I think he is now in campaign, and that's the only thing he's thinking about, working on. And it's right, because what sense to work on some plans on Ukraine when maybe you will not be the president and it's not your job to do. So if he will be elected, after this he will really work on this. Before this, I don't believe.
So what kind of concessions are you prepared to
We are not prepared for
give?
territorial concessions at all. We will never accept that our territories are Russians. That is impossible.
What kind of you're not going to
There is another story how to reclaim them, only in military way or in diplomatic way or how, that's another story. But we will never agree with the fact that this is Russian territory, because this is Ukrainian internationally recognized territory. I want to remind you that after Baltic states were occupied by Soviet Union, never ever the free world recognized this.
Yes.
But it lasted for 40 years. But finally, their independence was restored.
What kind of other concessions are you prepared to?
Why we should be prepared for any
Nothing?
concessions? I mean, why we should be prepared for any concessions?
Yes.
We don't want
You
any
have
inch.
red line,
I mean, like,
right?
we don't want any inch of Russian territory.
Yes.
We just want to restore our territorial integrity. That's all. So, what concessions? Where is in between? What is in between? Or what can be concessions and what can be a compromise when you want to leave and somebody wants you to be dead? Where is the concession? How to find compromise? I don't know.
Yeah. You mentioned Baltic states. They are in danger, you know, and Finland, Sweden, they are preparing itself also. Is it danger for, first of all, for the Baltic states? To be attacked by
Absolutely.
because he's yes.
No, Baltic states are under threat as well as all other countries of Eastern Europe.
Yes.
But Baltic states are protected by NATO membership. So I don't think that they will be next victims immediate. I think in more danger is Georgia, in more danger is Kazakhstan. They are in more dangerous situation. But if Putin will see that NATO is weakening or just falling apart, then he will attack.
Okay. So there is an anger in Moscow. It's a breaking news, actually. Putin's war spending over 40% of its total budget and security for security. It's a quite big percentage, actually.
Yeah, Russia invests in everything.
They're starving in the meanwhile.
Yeah, they're not starving, but yes, they invest in everything they have in the war. They don't, you know, more than 20 million of people in Russia go shit to the streets.
Yes.
They don't have toilets in their houses. This is not my data, it's official Russian statistics. Just imagine this. What is the population of Macedonia?
2 million.
2 million. 10 Macedonians.
Yeah, less than.
Okay, let us take 2.
Yes.
10 Macedonians, 10 countries like Macedonia together, all of them don't have toilets in their houses in 21st century. So this country is not interested in any quality of life of its people, in any investment, in any development. They're just interested in one thing, in attacking, in making war, in killing. This is awful empire. The last one, colonial empire in Europe, by the way.
Yes.
Sooner or later they will disappear because this is they're like dinosaurs. Yeah, they can exist for some time more, but they will disappear because there is no place for colonial empires anymore in Europe. But still they exist. When they exist, they are a constant threat because they're not interested. We are discussing here in the Parliamentary Assembly what to do with the metaverse, what to do with the rights of women, how to support them, or what to do with minorities. Or they're not interested in all of this.
Yeah.
They just don't want to go and kill. And that's the very important to understand. It's not just Putin. It's Russian people. They are sick with imperialism, and that's the problem. It is like it was with Germany. Like now, Germany, fantastic country, developed, wonderful, great partner. But just remember what was 70 years ago. That was absolute, or 80 years ago. It was crazy country. Why? Because it was empire. Until it was empire, it was a constant threat for neighbors and for themselves. They suffered from this also. Now it's a wonderful country. So can Russia be a normal country? Yes, when Russia will go through de-imperialization, when Russia will stop to be empire. But unfortunately, Russia today is empire. That's why they don't have toilets, but they have missiles to kill. That's all.
Yes, yes. Okay, you said people are sick. Do you think that from Russian
Yeah.
people, do you think that they are aware of that because Putin's propaganda
are-
is
propaganda works.
really powerful?
Yes, propaganda works. That is one of reasons, but also there is something inside of them. They are imperialistic. You just okay. Let's come back to the example of Germany. It was a hard process of de-imperialization. It was a hard process. You know how they were obliged to dig out the bodies of killed people in concentration camps. Just imagine, just by their hands, to see, to watch. All their history textbooks were rewritten. Everything was changed, and it took years, even decades,
Yes.
to get out of this, because this is it's like addicted people. It's like drug addicts. It's a very serious disease, and it's not cured easily. But there is way out. It's not something from which there is no way out. There is way out. It's de-imperialization. It will take time. It will take great efforts. But there is no other way.
Okay. You know, you have Macedonian support very well.
Thank you very much
Yes,
for this.
yes. And you know that we are struggling with the veto of Bulgaria. They're not recognizing our identity, language. You know that. So Russia, Putin is, you're in the same position as Russia. They're not recognizing your identity. They're saying that you're Russians, actually, that you're speaking Russian language, not Ukrainian. And we have problems.
No, they even don't accept the fact that Ukrainian language exists.
Yes.
They're saying this
Like-
is a Russian language, but with some changes.
The same story
Yeah.
with, yes, Bulgaria, that we are dialect with Bulgarian dialect. So you know that we have problems in that European Union path to start our negotiations because of those vetoes. First we had Greek vetoes and we solved that problem, of course, but now it's Bulgaria. What is your comment about that?
I'm not very much inside the situation
Yes,
to
I know.
comment it,
Yes.
so it's not my area of responsibility. I can tell you that personally what I want to see. I want to see the whole Balkans in the European Union. That's what I want to see. Because it's very important. It's good that Macedonia is already in NATO, right? And that is very good. But
Of
we need to make next step, and I want to see all countries in European Union. I think the free world should unite, and this is the way. And
Without borders, without
no borders. I mean,
obstacles.
I mean, unite in its efforts to protect its values.
Yes.
And to be strong. Yesterday I spoke in the assembly, in the hall. I said that I am very much concerned. Europe has everything to be power number one in the world. Just let us take population, more than 500 million. Economy, number one in the world, bigger than the United States, bigger than China. Technologies, culture, education, everything is on the very high level. What is lacking? Courage, leadership, decisiveness.
Political will.
Political will as a part of
Yes.
this. That's the problem. And I'm very much concerned that we are sitting here and speaking, oh, it's not just Ukraine who is now discussing who will be the next president of the United States. And we are dependent from this, that's true.
Of course.
But the whole Europe is doing this. Everybody is saying, oh, what will be if Trump? Oh, it will be Trump. And Trump will say, stop NATO, we are leaving NATO, we will not protect you anymore. But that is, I mean, I understand this, but this is a shame. Because Europe can protect itself. And Europe should be strong enough that United States should also look for such a great ally, and so on. So, but to do this, we need to unite. And such countries as Macedonia, North Macedonia, like Kosovo, like very problematic situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yes.
But the only force which is interested in Balkans to be in fire is Russia and its allies. Everybody else, we want to see peaceful Balkans, part of European Union, part of NATO, strong part of the free world, and move ahead. That's all.
You're aware of the Russian influence in Serbia?
Yeah, definitely.
Particularly.
And in Bosnia and Herzegovina,
Yes.
and in Montenegro, and they try to put as much fire and as much chaos there as possible. They are very devoted to this.
So what should be the response?
The response should be tough, and that's first of all the question to the states and the people of these countries. There should be response. We don't want to be your tool. And first of all, Serbians should say this. Because what Russia is doing, they're using them and using these also part of Serbian society have this imperialistic feeling. They're like small empire in Balkans, they feel themselves. Like betrayed small empire and forgotten and so on. But they just need to get out of this and to become a normal country. Like they can, but they just, and still they have these feelings, they will be used by Russia all the time. And for me, I think it's very bad for Serbia itself, first of all for Serbia itself, but for everybody else too.
Yeah, yes. And my last question, you know, there is a new war in the world, Israel, Iran,
Yeah.
Lebanon. Are you afraid that the aid will stop for Ukraine
Yeah, is it a problem?
and support?
Yeah, definitely after October 7 attack, it became harder for us. But from another point of view, if I don't want this, absolutely. I want the whole, because I know what is the war. I know what the war is.
Yes.
But what I can tell you, that if the big war in Middle East will start, the whole world will understand how badly the world needs Ukraine with our army, which is the strongest army of the free world, because our infantry is the best infantry, the only infantry with combat experience of 21st century. So it will make Ukraine even more needed. But I hope very much that the big war will not start there, and soon we'll finish the war in Ukraine too.
Thank you very much for
Thank
this
you.
interview.
Thank you.
Your resolution about Mr. Assange passed. There is no problem. You have some kind of support of some of the members of the Council of Europe. And my question is, what about the others? Some of the parliamentarians were not here, were not present, or they voted against. Did they tell you about that?
Well, let's look at it this way. An overall majority of those present, of the member of parliaments who are here present at this very, very important venue, supported this resolution by the special rapporteur. It was even better than I had expected. Some of the amendments that were actually voted upon with an overall majority strengthened the report on behalf of Julian's case and his cause. So I am very happy with the outcome, and Julian Assange is very happy to get this strong support. Those who stay silent or those who don't show up, they don't have a vote. Let's just look at the fact of the matter. This is a democratic process, a very developed democratic process here at PASE, and where you get more than 2/3 majority saying yes to this report.
It's enough for you. You're very satisfied.
I am satisfied because the outcome is basically this. The Council of Europe has, with an overall majority, vast majority, labeled the imprisonment of Julian Assange in the United Kingdom as a politically motivated one. He was a political prisoner. That is historic. Do not forget that only 3 months ago, he was let out of the dungeon in London in shackles. 3 months later, he comes here to this, the heart and the conscience of Europe, the birthplace of the European Convention of Human Rights, to the venue that created the European Court of Human Rights. And that venue says, with a single voice, speaking on behalf of 700 million people in 46 countries, pointing a finger at the United Kingdom, you wronged Julian Assange. You kept him in there as a political prisoner. That is a good outcome. That is a big vindication. And that is a recognition
of his struggle.
And the fact that he was kept in prison and tortured for all these years.
Okay. What about the others? I'm still interested about the others. Did they explain to you that they are not going to vote, that they are allies, America, that it's a powerful country, it's normal that they are political friends, and they are not going to vote for the resolution?
No, and I didn't seek any explanation.
Didn't
I didn't seek it out any explanation from those who were obviously going to fight it, but they were a huge minority in the thing. I mean, this was resolved in the committee, the Human Rights and Law Committee. Bear in mind that the chairman of the committee is a Lord Keane in the House of Lords in the United Kingdom. Yeah. He was the voice of trying to oppose this report, but he was voted out in almost a humiliating proportion. He only got a few votes supporting his position. So there was no actually vocal support for trying to brush this off. It's not good news for the United Kingdom, but let's face it, it is the power of this venue that is so important, is to point out to nations within the Council of Europe where they err in their ways. And it's very important for the nations who get such a signal to acknowledge it. That's an important thing, to acknowledge it, so it won't happen again. They would have better just to stay in the silent group and not show up at all. But you saw that in the proceedings that there was no one except Lord Keane who was speaking on behalf of that position, opposing the label of political prisoner on Julian Assange whilst he was in Belmarsh prison in London.
Okay. There were made a lot of damages, and you are aware of that, and Assange is aware of that. Damages are regarding the security, regarding the secrets of state secrets. He revealed not everything, of course, but a lot.
He revealed a lot, and that's what journalists are supposed to do. That is the essence of journalism, and that's why we want to have that a healthy process. We want to preserve that process. It is the very foundation of all the values that we build upon our societies, and that's why we call ourselves democracies. If you don't have a robust journalistic community with all that freedom and the securities in place, you don't really have democracies, do you? So, and that is recognized here at this venue. That's recognized here in Strasbourg. The secrets that were exposed were the cover-ups of crimes. And that is very interesting and important part of the report by the Special Rapporteur. It's not only recognizing the fact that Julian Assange was treated so unfairly and terribly, but also he was treated terribly for doing the right thing, acknowledging that he was prosecuted, I would say persecuted, for journalism. He had to go through a guilty plea process to get out and save his life. But the plea document states that Julian accepts the crime of doing journalism. And that's what it says in black and white in the plea agreement. He solicited information, he received information in the public interest, he published the information. That's journalism in the purest form.
Is there any red line in the journalism?
Of course there are.
If you're aware that there will be a lot of damages, a lot of consequences, you should think about that as a journalist, right?
Every journalist should think about the
Of course.
consequences of
And
their
what
story.
about that?
Well, listen, we are professionals. We are entrusted with that power to do the public interest test. That is the core and essence of our professionalism.
They're expecting from the journalists.
Yes, and
Yes.
we shouldn't shy away from that and not touch a story because it might rock the boat. We need to take on that challenge.
Whatever happens.
No, we need to take on that challenge, the measurement, and we need to take up precautions when information is being published. Harm minimization has always been at the core of WikiLeaks' values and the work that WikiLeaks has done. And that is on record that we did take, and Julian Assange did take these measures, even more professionally than the mainstream media that we were working with at some instances. Very professional, very diligent approach of scrutinizing material before being published. But I see a tendency in our world, in journalism world, which I think is very troubling, that people simply do not want to touch the subject because it might disturb some element somewhere. That is cowardice, in my opinion. Journalists need to fight for the recognition that they are the professionals who can decide. I'm often asked by journalists, fellow journalists, I was in the mainstream media for more than 20 years before joining WikiLeaks, what gives you the right to decide what is in the public interest? It is like asking a surgeon, what gives you the right to wield the knife and doing the surgery to try to save a life? You are the professional who decides, and you should never shy away from that responsibility. It is a heavy responsibility, but we are the professionals who take the responsibility.
Okay, is he ready?
If we don't, we are like the surgeon who is afraid of blood, and he is useless to any patient. He's useless for democracy. Get rid of them. Put them into public relations. Journalism is about exposing the truth to the public. We serve only one master, the general public.
The public.
And we are in the role of checking power, corporate government power.
Okay. Is I've asked you before yesterday, and the same question I would like to ask you. Is he ready now, not now, in a few months, in a year, to expose, to reveal some new state secrets? Now he's in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Maybe from Australia.
Well, the internet is a lovely tool and it connects people across continents and even to the other side of the globe. WikiLeaks has been an organization from the outset joining people all over the world. That's why COVID didn't affect our operational conditions, because we've always in that kind of a situation of using online mechanisms. When it comes to Julian Assange, he needs more time.
Of course.
You need to understand that it's only been weeks since he came out of Belmarsh prison as a shattered prisoner who has been spending all this time in a dungeon. So I cannot speak for him. Let's give him more time. WikiLeaks will continue.
You will continue?
In whatever form, and by upholding the principle that WikiLeaks is founded upon, the scientific journalism, the transparency and justice. That's the only thing I can promise. Whether
So we should expect some new state secrets in the future.
let us simply say this, because I don't want to make any promises for Julian Assange, and I don't even have had a serious discussion about where we
You
go.
didn't discuss this.
Not seriously,
Okay.
because when I told him a day before he came, I met him in Belmarsh prison. I knew he was getting out. And I thought, well, you will need months before we take that discussion, and he is still in that recovery process. It was just because of this extremely important report that was being presented here, and the vote that we saw this morning with his great outcome, that I urge him to take on that travel, that difficult travel, to come here and be here. He is barred from taking up cases himself. That's part of the plea agreement against the United States and against the United Kingdom. So it is, in that context, even more important that others do the work for him in bringing forth the elements of injustice brought against him.
Very short, because we are running time. Very short. Are there any threats now? Some pressures towards Julian Assange?
There are no official threats. There are no legal constraints. He cannot travel to the United Kingdom, but I'm pretty certain that he doesn't want to go there in the near future. But he is a free man, and he can travel. He can do whatever he wants. But journalism is under threat. And the threat against journalism is more severe than ever before. And that is our common interest, and that is an interest that I know that Julian Assange will take into account when he decides his future.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Thanks for having me.